Hey, Flowmies, it's time for another edition of the ITF Flowcast. So this week we are talking with Steve Williams. So he's a relatively new Flowmie. I got to meet him at the IWCA convention. His specialty is solar panel cleaning. And let me tell you, it's just a really interesting interview. First, about how he got involved with it, reluctantly got involved with solar panel cleaning, but just how the industry has grown. I mean, he's overseas. And he has kind of almost been at the forefront of this new next generation of solar panel cleaning technology. And he's also a big promoter of safety. And so anyways, he just has a lot of really important things to say. I know you're going to enjoy the interview. So let's listen in as we talk to Steve. All right, Flowmies, we are so happy to have Steve Williams with us today. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good, Gabriel. Thank you. Thanks for asking me to participate. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. It was so nice to meet you at the IWC convention. I got to sit at the same table with you and get to know you a little better.
Yeah, we had fun. It was a riot.
Yeah, it was a great time. So,
Yeah.
just so those of you who don't know, Steve Williams is part of the solar panel committee on the IWCA. He's done a ton of things in the solar panel industry. He's had his business since 2002, I think, or no, 2012, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us some of the other things that you do in the industry.
Okay. For the last 9 years, we've been part of an organization over here called Solar Energy UK. They are, if you like, the governing body for solar across the UK. About 7 years ago, I was asked to be the vice chair of the utility scale operations and maintenance working group. So focusing on health and safety on ground mount systems, not just cleaning panels, but the operations and maintenance of the whole site, grass cutting, pest control, security, cyber security, all those sorts of things, as well as all the usual electrical maintenance. And then more recently, 3 years ago, I was asked to be the chair of a brand new group, which was the rooftop operations and maintenance group. So I've been able to be the chair of that. And we've written and developed two versions of best practice health and safety guidelines for maintaining solar arrays on rooftops. So I've been privileged to release both of those. The first version was to the UK only. The second version was released in 2021, and that was released across Europe. So I was able to do that. So my SE UK work is one segment. I've got a solar cleaning / maintenance company that's won the best solar maintenance company in the UK twice in the last 5 years.
Nice.
So we won it at the end of 2017, and we won that award again at the end of 2022. In between that, in 2019, I was first award by the solar industry, which was the Innovator of the Year award.
Wow.
I don't know if they made that category up specifically for me, but there's never been a category like that since. So that was nice to be able to be given sort of personal recognition for some of the innovative cleaning techniques that I brought to the UK, and also some of the way that we operate and maintain systems is different to the mainstream, but it's still very efficient. I own a solar installation company. I've also got a solar consultancy company where companies can approach me with system designs and say, is this suitable for cleaning and for maintaining for the long term? Because these things are going on the roof for 20 years. So if you design a system wrong and you install it wrong for 20 years, that's a very expensive system to try and maintain.
Absolutely.
And then recently as well, I've also set up a training organization, which is the International Solar Cleaning Academy, which is a training body and educational body. So I've got many sort of plates spinning, but Clean Solar Solutions has been my main thrust for the last sort of 10 years. But my passion, even since I started that, has always been about improving standards and health and safety standards within the industry. So that's always been the core of what I do, is always look to improve the standards of maintaining solar panels via safer working methods.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you spend a little bit of time with you and talk about solar panels. That passion comes across. You really genuinely care about people being safe, and that's why you're such a valuable addition to the IWCA, because that's the IWCA's focus, right? And into the
Thank you.
flow, that's one of ours is safety training and safety education is really important. And frankly, us Americans with our solar panels, we need a lot of help with that. I know I do. Just in talking with you, and there's just so much stuff that I'm kind of checking off the list. Okay, I need to do that now, and I need to do that. And in fact, we stepped away after the convention. My company stepped away from solar panels for a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I'm not comfortable with our level of training now that I'm aware of the dangers that are there. So we're looking forward to kind of getting more training on that. But before I do want to pick your brain on some of the safety aspects for us as business owners, even single owner operators. But can you just tell us a little bit about how you got into solar panel? Because I know you started with window cleaning, and just tell us a little bit about the story. For those of you who don't know, we did a IWCA show episode with Steve. He got into a little bit about this history. If you want a chance to kind of learn more about the IWCA's role and Steve helping out with this training, please go back and watch that episode. But just share with us a little bit about how you transitioned from window cleaning, which obviously is very, very popular over there in the UK, but to this kind of newer field of solar panel cleaning. And what was your journey in that process?
Yeah, sure. So I left school age 16 and worked part-time as a window cleaner. I was doing other sort of volunteer work at the time. And then the opportunity came to me in about 2012 for solar panel cleaning. And at the time, I was moving away from the volunteer work and had a family by that point, and so other sort of priorities developed. I had a back issue, or have a back issue as well, which meant that I needed to move away from window cleaning with poles and looking up all the time and sort of have a change of career physically as well. And then this opportunity with solar panel cleaning was presented to me. One of my window cleaning customers asked if I would clean their solar panels. And to condense that story, I said no to them 3 times based on health and safety grounds. And then the third time that they said, we can't find anybody to do it, I thought, this is a bit ridiculous. They're typing the wrong thing into Google or something. So I originally tried to find them a solar panel cleaning company here in the UK that would help them and clean their panels. And there was no one. I couldn't find a single company out there. I took a whole day off work trying to find them a solar panel cleaning company, and there was no one, the UK based, that I could find. So I called some companies in California and Germany and Spain. I had health and safety concerns, so I asked them my health and safety questions about electrocution risk and things like this. All of them came back with the consistent answer of, we never even thought of that, which shocked me. So I then sort of thought, well, I need to educate myself about this. So I started looking on the internet about what a solar panel was. How does it work? Is there electrocution risk from cleaning? Yes. So glad that I found that out. And then I was able to figure out eventually how to get around those risks and mitigate the risks from electrocution. I was already used to working at height from my window cleaning days anyway. I already had a cherry picker license, or boom lift license, as you guys call them. So working at height was never an issue. It was the electrocution really that I needed to focus in on, and I needed to educate myself on. So that was back in 2012. I won a national contract with our biggest energy supplier in 2013. And I had to go national in 3 months. So that journey was pretty intense. And that sort of sent me down a subcontractor route, because I was subcontracting a good amount of work out at the time. But then I realized everybody was working to different health and safety standards. So then I thought, well, I need to make this uniform. And the best way that I thought I could make it uniform was to develop training. So I developed training. I delivered the training in person over here in the UK to over 600 window cleaners over the course of a 2-year period. And everybody just said the training is fantastic. There were people who, before the training started on the day, said there's nothing that this guy is going to teach me that I don't already know. And then those people left the room going, you taught me some stuff that I didn't know. So it's been quite a journey. It's revolutionized my whole life. It's given me a lifestyle that I never thought I'd get to enjoy. It's given me experiences that I never thought I'd get to have, one of which was the IWCA convention in Vegas. It was just wild to even think this little 16-year-old window cleaner boy made it across to the other side of the pond to teach on solar. So it's been quite the journey. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, very nice. Well, it was a pleasure having you and getting to meet you as well. So I do want to pick your brains on some of the things that I think as us window cleaners that we deal with, because like you said, business wise, it's an easy transition to go from window cleaning to solar panel cleaning, right? You just say,
Yeah.
hey, I see you got some solar panels, they're dirty. How about I clean them for you? Here's the price, right?
Yeah.
But safety wise, there's things that we aren't considering as window cleaners before we're taking on jobs like that. So
Mm.
if I could just have you talk a little bit about some. So the first one is ladder safety. So like you said,
Yeah.
as window cleaners, we're used to using ladder. Most of us are used to using ladders. Many of us are OSHA certified. In 1910, we've taken the safety classes, but why is the use of ladders when it comes to cleaning solar panels? Why is it important for us to think a little bit more about that aspect of it, safety wise, as opposed to just regular window cleaning?
Sure. So the OSHA working at height risk hierarchy is a document that if you're a window cleaner, even if you're doing water fed pole work from the ground 90% of the time, you should be familiar with what that risk hierarchy says. And the first thing that it says is, can the risk be eliminated by cleaning from the ground? So in some instances, not often, not all, but in some instances, yes, you can clean solar panels on a residential property or commercial property from the ground. You extend your water fed pole and away you go. So if you can clean from the ground, you should clean from the ground. The second part of the risk hierarchy talks then about, well, what is the safest way to get yourself to height? So if you can't clean from the ground, what's the safest way to get yourself up there? The two forms of access methods that it talks about are mutes, which are boom lifts, and then you've got scaffolding.
Mm.
Now, in the case of residential properties, there are instances when it is quick and it is easy and it is cheap to put scaffolding up. There are instances when it is relatively cheap, not as cheap, but relatively cheap to get a boom lift. And if you can cluster a few properties together and hire a boom lift for a day or a week, it becomes incredibly cheap then to hire the boom lift. And you're not much more than your competitor who's going up using his ladders. So it depends on how you structure your round, as it were. Then you can make it cost effective to hire boom lifts. So if you're going to go down that route, then you're sticking with the risk hierarchy. If you can't clean from the ground, if you can't clean from a boom lift, and if you can't clean from scaffolding, then it becomes acceptable in the eyes of OSHA to start looking at ladders. The problem that the window cleaners have, as I used to have when I first started, is the temptation just to get your ladder off your truck and go, because it's quick and it's equipment that you're familiar with and it's equipment that you've just got readily at hand. It takes no thinking about, but it's not the safest form of equipment to be using. The other thing with ladders as well is that they're metal often, and depending on the type of ladder that you're using, they can be conductive. So there are instances when solar panel frames become live. There are instances when the solar wiring, if it's faulty or the connectors are faulty, can arc, and they're going to arc to a metal property ladder. And there are instances, if the cable is not correct underneath the panels as well, that the actual guttering can be live.
Oh, wow.
So all of these are things that window cleaners generally don't know about, generally don't understand. And that's why training, in my eyes, is essential. It's not optional whether you get trained or not. If you're going to go out cleaning solar panels, it's essential that you understand the working at risk hierarchy, the working at height risk hierarchy, rather. And it's essential that you understand where are your main electrocution points and how do you protect yourselves from them. And that's what the training course teaches people.
Yeah. And I think also too important is to remember that the getting off of the ladder onto the roof is the most dangerous part of ladder work. Generally as window cleaners, we run the ladder up to a window. We'll have bullhorn so we can get close to the window, but still have the distance to clean. And then we come down. With solar panel, you're always going to be transitioning from the ladder to the roof, and certainly there's things you can use with a ladder to be safe. And of course, OSHA says the 3 foot above the roof line. But regardless of those, even if it may be a smaller risk, it's still a risk. It's still something that you have to keep in mind, that transition from ladder to roof and roof to ladder. It's just an increased risk that you probably aren't going to be facing if you're just laddering up to a window, something that we have to keep in mind.
That's correct. And if you were to have an accident and ISCA did investigate, one of the questions that they're going to ask you is about your form of access. What was your form of access to that roof? And if you say ladder and OSHA say that's not good enough, you should have used scaffolding, you're going to get a fine because you used the wrong form of access equipment. So OSHA can and are strict on these things. And as they say, Gabriel, everything's okay until it isn't.
Right.
And you can window clean for 20, 30 years and everything is fine until it's not. And when you have that fall, and if you've got an employee that has a fall and OSHA investigates, yeah, you've got a clean slate for 30 years, but actually you can land fines in the regions of tens of thousands of pounds if you're using the incorrect equipment or no safety equipment at all. So the other thing as well is you mentioned transitioning from the ladder to the roof. Well, when you're on that roof, how are you going to stay on that roof?
Yeah.
Are you wearing a harness? Where are you going to attach that harness to? Is what you're attaching your harness to secure? All these need to be taken into account. They're all risk factors that generally window cleaners are not factoring in. They get up there in their trainers and their shorts and their t-shirt in California. It's a really nice, beautiful day. They just climb up on the ladder, work on the roof with no PPE, and everything's fine until it's not. So there's a massive amount of education, I think, that needs to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the second part that I definitely wanted to hit on. So we're on the roof, we're scrubbing the panels. So what are some aspects that we say from a safety standpoint? You mentioned the harness, right? And frankly, in the United States, 99.9% of houses, I don't know how it is in the EU, but 99% of the houses in the United States do not have anchors of any sort.
No, they don't here.
Yeah, and so what are some things then that we can do to help mitigate that safety issue while we're cleaning solar panels?
Well, it tends to go against the grain when I say it to people, but actually going on the roof is a last resort to clean panels. If you can use a boom lift, that's the safest. If you can't use a boom lift, you then need to look at scaffolding. And in the majority of cases, Gabriel, you can either clean from the ground or clean from a boom lift or clean from scaffolding. If you look with that mindset, you will make one of those things happen. You will make one of those things work for you. If you're just going in the mindset that it's too expensive or you can't be bothered, well, you'll always reach for your ladder. So getting on the roof is really important. Staying on the roof is more important. So you do need to think about your harness. You need to think about the electrocution risks. Do window cleaners understand the fabric of a solar panel? Do they understand how solar arrays are put together? What components are underneath those solar panels? Where are my main electrocution points? All of that needs to be thought about, examined. And if you don't know the answer to where are the main electrocution points, you need to get somebody to tell you, which is the whole idea of training. And that's the main thrust of a lot of the work that I do with the IWCA is education about electrocution around solar panels. It's very different to window cleaning, very different.
Yeah. And again, that was the third, was electrocution. I mean, as window cleaners, we don't deal with well, if you're doing water fed pole and there's overhead wires, that's obviously an electrocution risk that's been there. Those who are experienced and have got the training, we're aware of that risk. But it's one thing to have the thing you have your brush against possibly being live, and that was the point for me personally when I was like, we're gonna stop this for a little bit. Because it does take a different kind of training to be able to look at a set of panels and do a proper inspection for the protection of yourself and of your employees. So what can people do then? What do they have to keep in mind when it comes to electrocution?
So I'd recommend that people take the training from the International Solar Cleaning, the International Solar Cleaning Academy. So the website is www.theisca.org. So the International Solar Cleaning Academy. The rooftop training course there gives people all of the information that they need to know. about the main electrocution points of a solar array, how to work safely at height, how to mitigate the working at height risk, how to mitigate the electrocution risk. So that's an excellent place to begin. People automatically think, well, it's electricity. If I wear something rubber, I'll be all right. So I'll wear a pair of rubber gloves, or I'll wear some rubber boots and I'll be fine. But people underestimate the amount of voltage that runs through a solar array, and you're dealing with DC electricity, which is a very different animal to AC electricity. So any old rubber glove and any old rubber boot just doesn't cut the mustard. It just doesn't work. So you need to make sure that the rating of your boots is correct, that you're wearing the correct electrical rating of boot, and you need to make sure that you're wearing the correct electrical rating of glove as well. So this can vary from country to country. So Australia deals with generally higher voltages on solar arrays than the UK and the US and Canada. So the knowledge that the ISCA training can give people is very valuable because it's country specific, and the PPE that is sold through the ISCA website is also country specific. So any old set of rubber gloves and any old boot is not going to protect people. And that's why the detailed training that ISCA have put together is so valuable to people, because it gives you 100% the correct equipment for your zone, for your area, for your territory.
Yeah, and I believe Kevin Hargis posted a link to what you're referring to with the approved panel, solar panel safety, including the harness, because you mentioned, I can't remember if it was right now or if it was in the IWCA show, that the harness, the type of harness, you can't just wear any harness that you can get at Home Depot.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, because they've got metal buckles. There's metal all over a harness. When you put them on, there's metal everywhere. So when you're dealing with DC electricity, you need to understand that this can arc. So if you're near a bare cable or a faulty connector and you bend down to have a look underneath the solar panels, and the straps and the buckles of your harness is down there near the framework of the solar panels and near the cabling, if that arcs, it's going to arc onto your harness, and your harness is going to burn through your clothes and you're going to get an electrocution. So all of this, it has to be taken into account. And my guess is, Gabriel, 95% to 99% of window cleaners don't know. They don't even know this information.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I mean, we never wore gloves. And so when Kevin posted that link, that was also kind of a reaffirmation for me that we made the right call, because I don't have that equipment.
Yeah.
I don't have that for my workers. And so, yeah, it's just, again, Flowmies, we're not saying this will happen. What we're saying is, why have any chance that it could happen, right? Because just like you said, Steve, it all works until it doesn't, and we just
absolutely,
it's the tragedy. That's when we all kind of feel sad and we get upset. But if it's preventable, then why not just prevent it before the tragedy happens, right? That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and if there's any doubt, people need to understand there's high voltage running through solar arrays as well. So you deal with low voltage and medium voltage, but in certain instances, you're dealing with high voltage. So if anybody's got any doubts about the damage that can be done, if you do a little Google image search of DC electrical damage to hands, have a look at those images, and then you can decide if you want to wear the correct glove and get trained or not. And we use those in the training. We use 2 or 3 images in the training to help people understand the severity of what can happen if you get a DC electric shock go through your hands. It will deglove your hand. It takes the top layers of skin off. So it is important that people know what it is that they're dealing with. And as I say, I came from the window clean industry. I know what the Flowmies are all thinking. I came from where they are, and I've moved into a whole different industry. It took me years to develop my knowledge. I didn't go from window cleaner one day to expert solar panel cleaner the next day. I've researched this subject for years. I've written university grade white papers about lichen growing on solar panels. I've looked into the science behind why that happens. No one has published information like this. So I'm a detail driven guy. I do the research. I don't publish anything until I know 100% that what I'm putting out there is correct information. So with my lichen, for instance, I knew that every word and every page published was fine. And before I released it as a published document, I actually submitted it to the British Lichen Association, because there is such an association. So I submitted it to these guys and I said, is everything that I've written in this document correct, scientifically and accurate? And they wrote back to me and said, yeah, it's good to go. And the same with the ISCA training as well. That took me years to develop that course, to a point where I felt, okay, I'm ready now to stand in front of an audience and deliver this, confident that I'm right. I've delivered that in person to, including the IWCA classes, maybe close to 700 people now in person. That's as well as the people that are buying it online and doing it in the comfort of their own home. And I've not got one person ever come back to me and say, what you've written on that slide or what you said just there is inaccurate. Nobody has ever come back to me and said that, even once. So I do believe that it's the current global standard, really. That's quite a statement to make, but there isn't any other information out there. So I believe that the ISCA training is the current global standard for training for rooftop solar panel cleaning. And the more that organizations like the IWCA and organizations I'm talking to here in the UK endorse that course, then the safer the solar panel cleaning industry will become.
Yeah, absolutely. So the ISCA.org, Flowmies, you guys can go to that website, get a lot of information on solar panel cleaning, especially the safety aspect, and get certified there. Also, there's another reason to join the IWCA, man. Get there to the convention, meet Steve in person, take some of the classes. Again, just get yourself safe, get yourself educated so you can be safe and you can come home to your family on that. So thanks so much for talking about that, Steve. I did want to talk to you a little bit about your being an entrepreneur. I really love your journey. So you started a window cleaner, and you talked a little bit about your chance of taking on these bigger accounts. But could you just go into a little more detail of your decision to go from window cleaner, reluctant solar panel cleaner, to all of a sudden you have your clean government accounts throughout all of Britain? Show a little bit about your journey, what decisions you make as an entrepreneur, what kind of risks you felt you were taking, so that we can kind of get a feel, because a lot of us go through that. We have opportunities and we don't always jump at them because of the fear of the unknown. So take us a little bit on your journey to help us know just how you got to where you're at and what kind of choices were involved with that.
So on a personal level, it's been a very interesting sort of transition as well, because there were lots of changes going on in my personal life as well as my business life, and it all seemed to create a perfect storm. So I was raised in an ultra-religious household for all of my life, and then around the same time as this opportunity for solar sort of presented itself is at a time when I was moving away from that lifestyle anyway. So that gave me a lot more time to dedicate toward investigating solar compared to the time I was putting into other matters there. So on a personal level, I had that little storm going on, and it gave me the time, and I was a researcher anyway as part of my lifestyle. So I was always researching certain subjects, and then I was able to put my researcher mind into something else. Very interestingly as well, I 100% don't believe in fate, but I bought a new van at the time. And in this van, I took some CDs. Remember those, Gabriel? CDs? Yes. Showing our age here. So I bought the van with a CD player, and I had a 2-hour journey home. So I went to put a CD in the CD player, and he wouldn't go in. And I was like, what's going on here? Has he sold me a van with a rubbish CD player in it? So eventually I pulled over, I pressed the eject button, and out popped a blank CD, because you could burn your own CDs. Right. No writing on the CD.
I did.
And I thought, yeah. So I thought, well, I will have a listen to this CD, see what music this guy was into who sold me the van. So I put the CD in, and there was a business seminar by a guy called Jim Rohn, American guy, and he was talking about network marketing and entrepreneurism and growing a business. And I never, ever had heard 53 minutes of material like it in my life, and it totally blew me away. I was used to sitting through seminars of that sort of length about all sorts of different subjects, but that business CD really hit me in a way that nothing else ever had done previously. And he said, if you spy an opportunity, why not go for the opportunity? So that, along with the personal changes I had going in my life, I thought, well, I've also got this back issue, which meant that physically I needed to look at my career and move away from window cleaning as well. So there were a number of factors that all came together at the same time. And that CD impacted on me so much that after 53 minutes, I listened to the whole lot all over again.
Wow.
So I listened to it back to back twice. And off the back of that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to see if I can do something with this solar business. So it was a combination of many factors, really, Gabriel, that sort of took me away from window cleaning and pushed me in the direction of solar. But the solar lifestyle has given me rich experiences. My level of income has gone up considerably from what I was doing on a window cleaning basis as well. So that put me in a position where I could just let my window cleaning company go. A couple of months ago, I sold it to a friend for many years for not a lot of money at all. But I don't need the money, because solar gives me a nice enough income, a nice enough lifestyle. So I feel it's been 100% on a personal level and on a business level worth making the transitions that I made in between the years of sort of 2012 to 2015. It was quite a tumultuous period of time to switch everything in my life. But it was one that I feel paid off for me. And I don't regret the decisions that I made. So it required certain mindset changes, and it continues to throw up new challenges. And that's what I like about solar, is that it's always evolving and there's always a fresh thing to be looking at. And I've got a naturally inquisitive mind. I like to research subjects. I like to be conscientious and know all of the detail. So that's why I particularly like solar. It's a very innovative, fast-paced, it's the future of how we will generate our energy for years to come. So for me, it seems to be just the perfect thing that I could have dropped into. Yeah, it was a nice accident.
Could you tell the story of how you got those government contracts through the UK? I think that is such a cool story.
Yeah, so it wasn't so much the government contracts; it was the UK's largest energy supplier.
Oh, that's what it was.
That. Yeah. So basically, I was asked by a window cleaning customer to clean their solar panels, as I mentioned earlier. I self-educated, put myself in a position where I felt I could write a web page for my little window cleaning website. I put it on there. Because there was no competition for solar panel cleaning search terms on Google, I shot to the top of Google. Within 4 months of being at the top of Google, the energy company British Gas came to me and they said, we've got a contract for cleaning 53,000 solar panels nationwide. We're going to split it into 7 different regions. Are you interested in cleaning the Midlands? Because at the time I lived plumb centre of the UK. So I said, yeah, sure, that's fine. So I had some suits already and shined my shoes and wore one of my suits and drove down to their head office. And when I walked in, it was quite an intimidating atmosphere. There was a really long table, 3 people on the other side of the table. And then there was a note taker lady that sat down there. She didn't speak at all. She just didn't say anything to me, didn't even acknowledge I walked in the room. And so we talked for about an hour and a half about what they had as part of their contract. They had at the time the UK's biggest solar array as part of that contract. So I need to figure out how to clean 16,700 solar panels when previously the biggest array I'd ever cleaned was 16 panels. So going from 16 to 16,000 is a jump. So they were offering me just the one region of the Midlands. So 53,000 panels was the national contract. My section was the Midlands, which included the UK's biggest solar array at the time. And they said, what do you want from us? And I remember sitting there thinking, Williams, you're only ever going to be here once. So I said to them, well, I want the national contract. If you're just going to give me the Midlands, I'm going to walk away now. I want it all or none at all. So they all looked at each other smiling and laughing, and they said, oh, we hoped you were going to say that because we can't find anyone else with your expertise. So then I had a 4-hour drive home with a signed contract from this energy company, one man on my own in a van. I had no way of fulfilling this contract. And in the 4-hour journey home, I had to try and figure out how on earth am I going to deliver what I've just agreed to. So in a 3-month period, I had to figure out how to go national. And the rest has just sort of rolled on from there, really. As soon as you can say on your website, get that logo of British Gas, we're an approved contractor for the UK's biggest energy supplier. Well, everybody thinks if he's good enough for British Gas, he's good enough for us. So since then, we've gone on to do IKEAs and Amazons and other multinational companies. We do a lot of work for B&Q, which is the equivalent of your Home Depot.
Okay.
So they've got massive distribution centers and things like this. So we deal with the big boys, but we also deal with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who have got a small property with 8 panels on their house. So we deal with everybody. Wherever there's a solar panel, we're going to go clean it.
Okay, so on that 4-hour drive home, are you calling to hire people, or what is your plan? Are you going to just how do I schedule enough time for me personally to do all of these panels by myself?
Yeah, so initially on that first year of winning that contract, I was still within the religious organization. I still had access to everybody. So I could then go around, make some calls. I didn't actually make any calls on the journey home. I had to sit on it for about a week and figure out what I was going to do. But I thought my best resource are all my mates. So let's get all my mates with all their water-fed poles, and whoever didn't have a water-fed pole but had window cleaning experience, I was like, well, we'll give you a pole and we'll give you some access to some water. So we went out in 8 vans strong with about 16 guys thrashing out this really, really big solar farm, which initially it took us 3 weeks to do that solar farm because nobody in the country had attempted anything like it. Nobody had done anything. I couldn't ring anybody and say, what's the best way to clean 16,000 solar panels? So we just had to figure it out amongst ourselves. And then we managed to whittle that job down. We did it 6 times. And on the 6th time, we did the whole of that job in 4 days because our working processes have become much more refined. So where the challenges started is when I left the organization and I didn't have access to that pool of people, then I had to start looking for subcontractor networks. So I had to start using people that I didn't know. So that was a fresh challenge. And then I discovered that I had about 80 subcontractors on the books at that time. And then I realized that all of my subcontractors were working to different levels of health and safety. So that's why I developed the training course. So again, this was a risky entrepreneurial move. I had 80 companies all over the UK that were willing to do work for me. And I wrote an email to each one of them. And I said, if you want to carry on being a subcontractor for me, you've got to pay me to do my training. And at the time, I was charging £200 a head. So that's what's that? It's like $230, $240. So at $199 now, the course has actually come down in cost compared to 7 years ago when I started delivering it. It was a risky move, Gabriel, because if all of my subcontractors had gone back to me and said, no, we're not paying you to do your training, then I lost my subcontractor network, or at least a good percentage of them. But I didn't lose anybody. Everyone was really grateful to do the training. They were like, okay, let's do the training. So sometimes I was filling a room of 40 people at £200 a head. So £8,000 in a day. That's astonishing money by anyone's standards, So I don't run those in-person events anymore. It's an online course now, but it was a risky move entrepreneurial wise and business wise, because I could have lost my whole subcontractor network and had to rebuild another. So that was another risk. I grew the business to the point where I had 26 members of staff. We had offices and we had about 8 vans out on the road. 2018, we discovered an internal fraud. So I had 4 businesses at the time, and my accounts lady was acting fraudulently within the company. The fraud was worth £350,000. So that was pretty horrendous. On one day, I had to fire 2 people and I had to make 21 people redundant. That's my worst day ever in business.
I can't even.
So I lost everything basically off the back of that. And I had to go back out again, just solar panel cleaning, just me and my wife, and try and rebuild it all over again, which we did do. And so it's sort of not been an easy path, you know. Donald Trump built it, lost it, rebuilt it. Steve Jobs set up Apple, got kicked out of his own company, and then they asked him back eventually. And so people like these and Richard Branson over here built it all, lost it all, rebuilt it all again. You know, often you find that the most successful people are not the richest people, they're just the people who don't give up. So for anybody suffering problems within their business, whatever you feel is a failure probably isn't a failure. The only time you fail in business is when you just throw the towel in and you give up. If you're not willing to give up, you're just going to learn. So you either win or learn. You don't win or lose. You win or learn.
I know some guys who don't learn.
yeah. So you know, you either win or learn, and that's the viewpoint that I've always had. And recently we've had issues within the company, you know. And again, it's set us backwards, but we're not on our knees, but it's set us backwards. We're not on the trajectory that I thought we'd be on this year because we had unexpected issues within the company. And so it's never in business a bed of roses, you know. If it is, if in your business, you've not just had a major problem, you're not going through a major problem now, all you need to do is wait because a major problem will come your way. And that's the reality of being a business owner and being an entrepreneur, is that if you are really pushing what it is that you're doing, you're going to have bumps in your road. So yeah, you face a bump in the road and you just have to find a way to fight it. It's like running in treacle sometimes, but you just got to go and go and go and go. And eventually the path becomes smooth again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's an amazing story, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. And, you know, yeah, I mean, we're all entrepreneurs in different ways. You know, some of us, our goal is just to maintain the company that we have. It's what we need. It's what we like. Others are trying to grow their businesses. Others are trying to get it where the business is, you know, it's a residual income where they don't have any role in it. They just have a stake and it comes in. We're all in different parts, but I like what you said. I really appreciate it that, you know, a lot of it is just sticking with it, because a lot of the challenges that come is facing that feeling of the possible failure, right? Or at least in our mind, what would be considered a failure, and just saying, okay, well, if it comes, it comes. I'm just going to keep going. You know, a lot of people want to quit before the failure comes, because that kind of almost like they redeem a little bit of control. And if they would have just stuck it out, the problems would have either worked themselves out, or you would have come upon a solution to those problems. You know.
And I think when people look back on their life, Gabriel, people regret the things that they didn't try, as opposed to the things that they tried that went wrong. So for me, I've always taken what I feel to be calculated risks when it comes to business. But there have been many times when I've jumped out the plane and figured out how to fly on the way down. That's what being an entrepreneur is. I market myself and Clean Solar Solutions as pioneers of the solar panel cleaning industry. You know, we have forged a path where previously there was not one. We've cleaned the UK's biggest ground mount solar array at its time of install. We've cleaned the UK's biggest rooftop array at its time of install. We've cleaned Europe's first floating solar array. If you're going to clean Europe's first floating solar array, who can you possibly go and ask to say, how do I do this? There is no one. So you have to go places where other people have literally not been before. And that's what I love about what I've been able to do on my personal journey. I feel that my name will be indelibly linked with solar panel cleaning, because we've been able as a company to do many, you know, UK firsts, Europe firsts, world firsts. And it's been a really sort of exciting ride to be engaged in. And it continues to give me much reward. And the reward is never financial. You know, I've never been into this for the money. I take the money because it's there, but I'm not in it for the money. What I love about the industry is the personal challenge. Can I get a contract with British Gas? Turns out the answer is yes. Can I clean the UK's biggest ground mount solar array? Turns out the answer is yes. Can I clean Europe's first floating solar array? Turns out the answer is yes. Can I win 2 awards in 5 years for having the best solar maintenance company in the country? Turns out the answer is yes. If you don't go for these things, you're never ever going to know. And you can sit back and take it easy, and you can be content. And I am content. If I'd not won the awards, I'd still be very happy. If I'd not done the UK first, I'd still be very happy. But there's extra enjoyment in having a piece of glass on the mantelpiece. There's extra enjoyment in being able to write a blog article or news article for your website to say, we've done Europe's first, or we've done the US first. There is reward in that. And for me, that's what I particularly love, is the personal accomplishment that I get off the back of this industry.
Very cool, man. Well, thanks so much for your time, Steve. Anything else you want to share before we sign off here?
No, so just to say really that, a few key points. So number one is the window cleaning industry is not the same as the solar panel cleaning industry. A plumber uses a screwdriver in certain elements of his job, but he's not qualified to go rewire a house. So just because a window cleaner owns a water-fed pole doesn't mean he's qualified to go out cleaning solar panels. So that's the number one theme. The number two theme is that the excitement is there in the solar industry for those that really want to pursue it. It's a very fast-paced and enjoyable environment to be in. Number three is consider your health and safety very closely. That's number three. And number four is to just love your life. Love being an individual, love being free, and love having the freedom to pursue your business or any other personal interest that you've got in a way that you want to pursue it. I haven't done my hair tonight, but normally I've got 6 foot rockabilly hair or a 70s punk hair style going on. I curl my mustache. I've become a brand all of my own because I allowed myself to explore my own authenticity, and there's much reward in doing that as well. So we express that in personal ways, we express that in business ways, and the things that you can do for your family when you allow yourself to be free on a personal and business level as well, it brings rich reward. So I suppose they're the 4 things that I would share with people, and being there for your family includes being safe at work. That's a key thing. So yeah, to the Flowmies, I hope that it's been a benefit, this discussion. I'd love to return if they've got some questions that we can get in from comments, and maybe do a follow-up episode at some point in the future. I'd really like that. Just to keep in touch with everybody and be part of the growth in the US is sort of the next stage of my personal accomplishment journey in the solar industry. I definitely view this entry into the US as the next stage of my Solar Steve journey, as people hashtag me.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you in ITF, Steve, and also in the IWCA. We really appreciate your help. Thank you, Flowmies, for listening. If you do have any questions for him, feel free to put them in the comments and in the post in the group, but also on the YouTube as well. We check the comment section there and answer questions that we have, and I know Steve would love to answer them. But yeah, we will definitely have you back to follow up on this. And we know the solar industry is always growing and changing, so we would love to stay up to date. But thanks again for your time, man. You guys take care. Tell your wife hi, and please, Flowmies, thank you also for listening. You guys are awesome, and as always, flow on.